Bookish friends, welcome to my June wrap-up part 1. This wrap-up video will consist of two parts. In the first part, I will talk about the 6 books that I finished in the first half of June. And then in the second part, I will very briefly give an update on my Berna's Bookish Bingo, which is a reading challenge that I'm doing for the months of April, May and June. The first book that I finished was Last Letter from Istanbul by Lucy Foley. This was a historical fiction that was set in Istanbul during the occupation of Istanbul by the Allied forces after World War I. The book follows mainly 4 characters. Nur, a young Turkish woman who is a school teacher, raises a small child by herself. George, a Scottish doctor who works at a military hospital in Istanbul. The boy, a 10-year-old child who's taken care of by Nur at her house. And the prisoner who's returning from a Russian prison camp after he has been captured in the Russian front by the end of World War I. When I first started the book, I was so sure that I was going to give this book an either 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 even, because it connected me in so many levels. And the representation of Turkey and Turkish people at that time was extremely well done. In the last quarter, unfortunately, the timeline in the book really got mixed up, and it was really hard to follow additional point of view that was added to the story. And also, I have to say, although ending made sense, I didn't love how abruptly the story ended. So I decreased my rating to 8 out of 10. I did a very detailed Turkish shelf video about this book. I would still advise it if you want to know more about the Turkish culture at that time. I will certainly read more books from Lucy Foley. The second book that I finished in June was the last book in Canadian West series. Rainey and I finished our body read of Canadian West books. This book followed the story of Kristen, who's Elizabeth and Wynn's adopted daughter, and how she tries to find love and also meaning in her life after her brother got married and settled very nicely and found the meaning in his life. And there was a backstory of World War II and how it affected the people in Canada, even the ones who didn't go to the war. I have very mixed feelings about this book. I like some parts of the book very much, especially the parts about the society and how Kristen actually became a more strong woman rather than the whiny teenager that she was in the previous book. I also really hated how Kristen's potential husband candidates and how her relationship with all of them actually was portrayed in the book. It's not just the fact that she in the end chose my least favorite candidate, but I was really disappointed in Janette Oak's thinking in this book because in her other previous books she was really persistent in trying to find meaning and love in relationships, but this time I felt like she had to marry Kristen. And unfortunately, her story with any of the suitors was not satisfactory. So I gave the book a 6 out of 10 because, as I've said before, I really liked all of the things aside from this main storyline. After that, I finished a Turkish book, Fesleğen, Kokulu, Rüyalar by Buket, Adanç. This was a very good own voices book in many ways. The book is about eating disorders and bulimia and how it affects many people in Turkey, especially among the more educated people, and it also takes place in my hometown. It was so realistic and raw in that sense. And we made a Zoom call to the author, who was a doctor specialized in eating disorders. So there were some parts in the book which felt a bit cliche and just written to be shared in the social media. And the author actually admitted this because her target audience was actually not us, but new adults and young adults. And it suddenly made sense. This book is one of the books that I wished had English translation, so that my international friends would also be able to read it. But unfortunately, it's just a new release. Maybe it will be translated in the future, who knows. And the fourth book that I finished was the fifth book in Bridgerton series. I picked up Bridgertons from Series Cup in February, and I read one book per month until now. This time we followed the love story between Eloise Bridgerton and Sir Philip Crane, a single dad of twins who are 8 years old. It had very entertaining moments as well as really emotional moments, but unlike Last Letter from Istanbul, I thought I was going to give it an 8 out of 10 until the very last chapters of the book. Those chapters really made me very emotional and I felt much more connected to the character than the previous chapters. So I bumped up the rating this time because of the ending. It was such a sweet romance book. My favorite so far is still the second book, Anthony and Kate's love story. But I also really love the connection between this couple. The next book that I finished was a young adult book, The Boy in the Black Suit by Jason Reynolds. This book dealt with a boy's grief after her mother's death and how he gradually gets over his grief by various methods. And one of these methods is to work in a funeral home because he wants to feel connected to the mourners of the funeral there. It was very interesting in that sense, and there were some really heartfelt moments when he remembered his mother. On the other hand, there was a love story which felt a bit too much coincidental for me. But I really liked how grief is dealt in this book, and Jason Reynolds is also a very good writer. So I gave this book a 7 out of 10. I think if I had read it when I was younger, when I was the target audience, I think I would have liked the love story as well, and would have liked the book much better. And the last book that I finished in the first half of June was the book that I chose to read for category Romance Readathon. I decided to read just one or maybe two books for this readathon that is co-hosted by Sarah from the Bookish and Brie at Falling for Romance in Instagram. I read The Undercover Princess by Susanne Brockmann. This book told the story of a princess who disguises herself as a nanny to find out if her brother is the business partner of a single dad, Trey. I both liked this book in some parts and didn't like the book in other parts. I really liked how the relationship between the couple progressed. I think they suited very well with each other. On the other hand, I really didn't like the children, especially the daughter who's 13. I mean, I know 13-year-olds are going through many things, but the girl in this book was a know-it-all and also very rude towards her father, which actually made me sometimes very angry with her. The depression of the little boy, who's 6, could have been a bit less. I felt like those secondary storylines sometimes dominated the whole story. So overall, I gave this book a 6 out of 10. At the end of May, I only had 3 squares left to fill for the month of June. And I managed to fill one of them by The Boy in the Black Suit, which was a young adult book. So I think I'm doing fairly well with the bingo card overall, and I am very excited that I will have another bingo board for July, August and September. Those were the 6 books that I finished in the first half of June. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I've mentioned, and what did you think about them? And also, what was your favorite book in the first half of June? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye! As for Turkish word of the day, since Sir Phillip, the hero of my favorite book in the first half of June, was the father of twins, I thought twin should be the word of the day. Twin means ikiz in Turkish, and ikiz is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day!